The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's a Wednesday.
Is it?
It is a Wednesday. CJ, your audio's a bit low. I don't...
But don't worry, we'll get me. Can we hear me now?
Yeah, we'll get it.
Okay, we're all set. I can hear you. You can hear me.
When do we ever run out of things to talk about?
We never run out of information to talk about. This is Fall River.
That's right.
It is better than Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
10 shots fired into a house on Morgan Street. I wonder if that's going to be in our marketing strategy.
That's in the Come to Fall River version 3 video.
What are we going to call that one? Bullet Alley?
Well, we got Purchase Place. We'll now have Bullet Alley. I already know that the Stop and Shop parking lot on Rodman Street had not one, but 2 overdoses last night. So, hey, we can market this place as wonderful. Our statue of dependency is going to really work out well in this city. I think we should move it when we finally present it to the city. I think it needs to go in front of Government Center in the median between the 2 aisles that run between North and South Main Street.
But what we need to do is hire more people from little tiny postage stamp towns and pay them massive salaries.
Yeah, and
that's what fixes Fall River. And by the way, I'm sure that there was no one in Fall River that didn't have an engineering degree that would have taken the job for a lot less.
I know. It's amazing how, Mr. Robinson or Robinson, whatever his name is, the neighborhood coordinator, now known as the neighborhood screw-up, because I guess even the neighborhood leaders don't like him anymore. He didn't meet any of the qualifications of the job description. How to get the job? Because he was a close friend of the political campaign manager of the mayor, the two. Then we move on to Mr. Oakfer, who has a history of filing complaints against his employers when he doesn't get his way. Okay, he says it's racial every time, but then again, they throw out the racial component, and then they settle him for chump change because it's actually cheaper to pay him off and make him go away than it is to actually fight the case. And that's the problem with the system. But the city says that they were very much aware of this. Now, they still haven't made his information available.
They're very much aware of this, and they still hired him. Here's a guy that loves to file frivolous litigation.
Yes.
He's like the guy that walks in front of your house
and
before
falls.
you put the rock salt and falls down and sues you. So he gets a job, and in every town he gets, even though he's supervising, 6 and then 13, then he wants a promotion. Maybe that's the reason that they caved and gave him the top end of the salary spectrum, not because of his qualifications. He didn't have a degree, and he's got virtually no experience with large departments, but they still gave him
My big question is this. He signed the contract, okay, and there's a potential for the city council to overturn what they did. And
file a lawsuit against the city council, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. So, and how to get this job? Not that he was qualified. Everyone said he was so qualified, but he didn't have the requirements of the job description. Why? Because allegedly, and you'll notice I said allegedly, he's close friends with the two's daddy. So again, political patronage at its best. This is a city that you just cannot get away from it. And I loved Mark Dion's column, which titled is, Once Again, Correa's Lack of Experience Shows. This is why we in Fall River are fed up. Now you have a threat of a lawsuit from the people in the city council meeting because Sean Kadim refuses to let them clap. And here's the big problem. You file this lawsuit, the city's going to have to litigate it, and that's going to cost money. The city's already hard up for cash. When Sean Kadim was approached for comments by WJAR and other news media organizations, his comment was, I have no comment. You have no comment? You seem to have a lot of comments when you were sitting at the podium. Lots of them. A request was sent to Chief Racine on is he going to direct his police officers to uphold the law. I mean, that's the basis of the request. No comment. Comment sent to Jaisal Correa.
No comment?
No, there's no comments. Request sent to Jaisal Correa on his familial connection to the private hauler, Easy Disposal. Again, no comment. And Mike Holtzman asked if there was a familial connection to Mr. Oakfer. And Chris Pereño said very clearly that there is no familial connection. It was the wrong question. And Mr. Holtzman, who I have a great deal of respect for, unlike many others at the Pravda, I said to him, I have a great deal of respect for you, but you just asked the wrong question. Well, I'm reporting and I'll ask the questions I want. That doesn't really instill a vote of confidence in the readers of the Herald News, what few are left. And this is the problem. Okay, you have to ask the hard-hitting questions. We do it every day. We do it every single day. So why can't our other press outlets here in Fall River ask the questions? We know that Radio Pravda asks nothing serious, and we have the Pravda, which really seems to circumvent their stories and rewrite them to make the people look good.
Well, you know, we have a great affinity in this city to do everything to make it worse, not better. The rush to sign the contract for the new DCM guy was an attempt to kind of take it out of the hands of the council, but all that does is create the possibility of litigation. What happens if they do vote to rescind or reconsider this and
worse, not
hire
fund
this
it.
guy or not pay a salary? A lawsuit, again, more lawsuits. So, you know, I like Mark's column today. I think it's very good. But the fact is that I just kind of disagree with his title. Once again, he shows his lack of experience. I think he's showing a tremendous amount of experience and maturity in cronyism and patronage. I think he's redefining the book. What he does lack experience in is covering it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He's like Captain Obvious.
And I'm going to be doing...
I mean, he's made it so he doesn't. We've done virtually nothing else in this
Right.
city since he's been in, except watch him hire friends, relatives, and friends of friends and relatives since he's been in office. What has he done, really? Oh, I eliminated a couple of medium-paying jobs, but I hired all these other people. Oh, I'm getting rid of the trash. Really? Really? I got my letter, by the way.
I got mine also last night. Yep.
Telling me that I get a $100 fine, a $200 fine, $300 fine, and then after that, I'm going to be forced to privatize. You know, if I don't comply. Well, I've already privatized, but the fact is, you know, CJ, I have to go back to what you said a couple shows ago. I mean, if you look at the fines, it adds up to about $600, which is about the cost of privatizing for a
Exactly, for a year.
So why look, I'm telling the people of Fall River, hey, just go privatize first. Why worry about the fines? Because you're going to end up with $600 worth of fines, and they're going to force you to pay for privatization anyway. And why don't we just get rid of the whole damn thing? Like you said, unfortunately, you know, the jobs, I sympathize with those guys. They're being used again, like the firefighters are at budget time, as human shields. You know, they've been sticking these guys in the middle for years. I can go back decades and show you the threat of privatization of DPW. But you know something? The city council has got to make a decision, and I'm not talking about the mayor. It's pretty obvious what the
mayor can't make a decision. He just says what he's going to do, and that's it.
What fuels the mayor's engine? It's, you know, patronage and hype. That, you know, so it's up to the city council to say, well, you know something? When you start doing some stuff like this, it's so ridiculous. Let's just not fund it.
You know, the thing that really gets me, and it makes me laugh, is, again, I received a phone call from a very good friend of ours and now avid supporter of Spindle City Straight Talk, Mr. Dino Bissaro. Hello, Dino. Nice to hear from you yesterday. Who wants to know what can he do to get the people together to undo what this guy has done. He doesn't support privatization, but he doesn't believe in what this guy is doing. what this mayor is doing, and I don't even want to call him that anymore. We're at the point now where he's at a dictator status, okay? A Mickey Mouseketeer dictator status, but nonetheless, he's at dictator status. And it makes me laugh that we have a city council that's concerned about, clapping, and they're willing to go to court over that.
You know what we need? You know what we need?
What do we need, Chip?
We need a special switch. What does that switch do?
Stereo.
I don't know. Can we cue it up?
Clap off.
For places.
Can't get better than that.
I'm not getting it out here.
Oh, no, it aired.
Okay, clap on, clap off. But Dino, hello. I kind of, I agree. And I on the show I said I really don't have that much information to really know long term if this is truly going to save us money if we maintain control in the long run. As I said, I compared it to the snow removal that a good friend of mine reminded me of many, many years ago, even before my time, when Mayor Kane eliminated the snow removal equipment. Now we're paying $30,000 an inch. Had we kept that equipment and maintained that equipment properly, and we looked at the overall cost, it might have been more cost effective for this city to maintain its own snow removal equipment. I don't know, see, they used to live out of Midwest. They got tremendous amounts of snow removal issues. Do they maintain their own equipment?
They own all their own equipment, Chip.
Well, hey, what the hell do they know? They only remove like 8,000 inches of snow every winter. So.
And 3 feet of snow at a time sometimes. And guess what? They never close school. They never close government center. They never close state houses. And the roads are clear, right down to the pavement. No ice, no snow, and it's all gone by first thing in the morning. That tells you something, okay? And this is the problem, because in Fall River, we don't have the common sense that God should have given us. But when they said common sense, they were all running into the penny aisle to get their candy. And this is the problem.
Well, the reality is, listen, on a short-term, privatization's always cheaper, but let's look what happened with privatization with most of these things. Look at the dump. Look at the snow removal.
Let's just look at what happened to the state.
It might have been cheaper. The fact is that look at the human factor. The fact that Fall River people who work for Fall River are now being laid off. Their life has been totally disrupted, and now we have a situation where we're going to hire this company, a 10-year contract, blank lines. What's going to happen when the cost is astronomical, and then they hire a bunch of illegal Guatemalans or something to pick up your trash, and the streets are littered, and we have no control over it. At least if we run DCM, the people work for us. We can ensure the quality of the performance. But I'm not saying they're not right. If it's much cheaper in the long run, but prove it to me. As I said before, those numbers are BS. They have not proved the functionality of privatization. But again, we have a contractor that's supposedly, allegedly related. We have a DCM director, as Mr. Dion said. You get, 2 for the price of 1.5. And all that's happening now is this has become an employment agency. That it's rampant. And let's look at what's being done with the city. And let me comment on one thing. This absolutely ridiculous idea that some of the supporters say about let's give him a chance. Give him a chance to do what? He's already proven what he's doing. He's given everybody jobs. Give him a chance to destroy the city? I mean, this is the chief executive officer of a city that's on the brink of financial disaster, and you want to let him do what? 4 years of OJT? 6 years of OJT? You want to take your car down to the 12-year-old down a block that's decided to become an auto mechanic but hasn't taken a course yet? And let him take your car apart, and then it might get fixed again in maybe 10 years?
I have orders from the bridge captain.
Huh? You better buckle up.
You know where we're going? We're getting beyond ridiculous to go. We're going to go into what?
Ludicrous speed.
I can't hear it.
Ludicrous speed. Go.
Going to ludicrous speed, as they said in that great movie, which really kind of is a parody of Fall River, Spaceballs. So, you know, the thing is.
Well,
that,
you know, Doc Helmet had it right, and you know, so. And
you know,
this is craziness.
You know, it just, you know, why do people think? It's like saying, oh, you know, you got to let him learn a job. Well, you know, he should have enough background and surround himself with the right people, not all inexperienced people and people that come from a 13-man department to run a 100-man department. That's not the way it works. We once threw out a healthcare company that came in with a very low bid, but we looked at it, and the biggest town they ever serviced was like 35 people. So we said, do you have the resources to handle 5,000, you know, employees? And the answer to that was no. And, you know, and then you give this guy the top salary range. I mean, what's the learning curve? I mean, you've got to be able to at least function in that job adequately. And it doesn't take a rocket science. The first 6 months of somebody, you can see the direction they're taking the city. And again, we're taking the city in the wrong direction.
And Chip, the thing is that this job required an engineer's degree. Okay? He doesn't have one. So what should have happened was they said, well, look, you can't get 110. You don't have the engineering degree. We're going to give you 80. And if you don't like it, stay wherever you are, making 93 or whatever it is you're making. And the problem that I have more than anything else, I'll get past the patronage jobs and the nepotism and you know, your friends with my dad and my dad's friends with your. Let's get past all of that. Let's get right down to the numbers. The fact of the matter is, the city spends 6.9 plus million because all the bonding isn't included in that budget. 6.9 million. I have presented to the city, the mayor, the city council, the solution. People don't like the solution, but guess what? It's the solution. Property owners hire their own trash contractors. Average cost will be $990,000 a year. The city doesn't have to handle it. The payments are all from the private owner to their private contractors. We don't pay benefits. We don't pay retirement, health care, trucks, trash, anything. $6.9 plus million added back into the budget for them to waste somewhere else, obviously. But doesn't that sound like a business plan? Doesn't that sound like an adequate one?
Yeah, but
and like you, I do believe that it is going to have the human effect. People will be out of work. Okay, and I understand that. But the one thing that this city needs to understand, whether you be a citizen, a taxpayer, or an elected nitwit, okay? Sorry I have to use the term, but that's the way you people are really looking right now. This is not an employment agency. You don't hire your girlfriend and your wife to be your secretary in your department. You don't hire your cousins, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, you know, second cousin twice removed by marriage. You don't do that, okay? You hire the minimal number of people necessary to perform the services, not the maximum number of administrators. Does that sound logical?
Yeah, but that's the reason they don't do it. But let's go back. Let's go back and look at what, you know, this is a great example of how Fall River never learns. And you know, like if a child puts his hand on a hot stove, they normally don't do it again. Well, the Fall River children burn both their hands off, and then they put their feet on the stove till they have no hands and feet, because they continue to make these mistakes. And you know, this is not the first time this has been done. See, this is why we don't learn. In the 80s, Carlton Viveris reorganized the city. And I'll tell you what, about 85% of that reorganization wasn't bad. They hired a company called Coopers and Lybrand to review all the... They did consolidate some things. They created new positions which were supposed to make services better. But...
Hate those
the
bugs.
DCM, at the time the DPW, was reorganized. And guess what the requirement was to run DPW? An engineering degree. And that was used to justify an increase in salary for the DCM director. all these positions at the top came with elevations in pay because of requirements, experience and educational requirements. The only problem was everybody they hired didn't meet the requirements, but they got the pay. Ronnie Costa became the head of the DPW with no degree in engineering, and he got the salary. Did we learn? Hell no. We just keep repeating it. This is politics. This is the reason that Donald Trump wiped the floor with everybody yesterday in 5 states. People in this country are fed up with politicians and their BS. They're fed up with the politicians pretending they listen to them. And then when we get an election like this, they say, we don't care if you want Donald Trump. We're not going to get him. Everybody's going to hell with the people. The Democratic Party, although they got their wish, it looks like Hillary's going to get the nomination.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah. All right. You make sure you clean that up. But they went out and said, when it looked like it was a race for a while, that, Sanders was not going to get the nomination regardless of what the people wanted. Now the Republican Party's telling the people, we don't want Donald Trump. The hell with you people. You're only the citizens of the United States. What the hell does the fact that you selected this guy have any bearing? What the party wants. You know something? That sounds a lot like socialism, not democracy, because guess what? The Communist Party told everybody who they had to take. They controlled the media, and it was the party line. And what do we have in the United States? We have a pseudo-democracy. That's what we have. It's not really a democracy. They only make you think that you make the decision, and when you make a decision that's contrary to what they want, they give you the finger. And this is the problem. On a national level, and I'm proud of Fall River, we led the curve. We started getting angry long before the rest of the country did. We had a recall, the first one in the state to be successful. And guess what? People are still getting angry. We're getting calls every day. We're getting comments every day because people are upset, and justifiably so. And when they rub your nose in it like this hire, $110,000 for a guy who supervised 13 people.
Unqualified.
And doesn't have the academic qualifications. Now I read in the article that Chris Pirana, or whatever his name is, what is it?
Pereño.
Or whatever.
I still like mine, Paranoia.
All right, paranoia or whatever. But he's saying it may not be the top salary now. Why? Because of political pressure? Because we're talking about it?
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Number one, he shouldn't have got the lowest salary rate. As I said, CJ, let me just give it. There's nobody in Fall River out there without an engineering degree.
Right.
That will take an $80,000 a year job.
But here's the kicker.
I want you all to call the mayor's office and say, I'll do it for $79.
Well, people have already done that, but here's the real kicker. If he signed the contract, how are they going to change the salary?
Yeah, well...
Okay, so this is what I mean. Everything that comes out of the 6th floor is a misrepresentation. It's fictitious. It's partial truth and partial fantasy. I'm trying not to say the lie word, but you know what? It's the only thing that seems to fit. And here's my real big problem with this, because you can verify this if you so desire, Chip. It's my understanding that a certain auditor who only does reconciliations went to Human Resources and asked them to make numbers work for testimony before the city council meeting. And she was told you can't make them work, that they are what they are. Numbers are numbers. And you and I always know the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So
well, unfortunately, politicians do, though.
Right. But how can you go around asking people to create numbers to make it work?
Well, that's what they normally do. But let me get back to this. He said, and which is really mind-boggling to somebody like me who actually had to negotiate real contracts, and everything had to be read and reread line by the entire bargaining committee, by our attorney, by the city attorney, had to be co-signed by the city attorney, by the corporation council, by the mayor, by our bargaining committee, by our attorney, and everything had to be basically carved in stone. And every interpretation had to be clarified before the contract became an instrument.
Was that the contract where you put bathroom privileges in it?
The Christopher,
Pereño.
Pereño.
I'm telling you, use paranoia. It
Okay,
works.
we have to, English, I'm difficult. I apologize for not being able to, but some of these names are not, Smith and Jones, I'm pretty good with. Portuguese names, because I grew up in Fall River, I'm pretty good with. But some of these names, I'm not sure the correct pronunciation. So I apologize for that. But the chief of staff, that's the easy way. We'll just refer to him as the chief of staff, said, Christopher Okafor, or whatever, Okafor, came to Government Center on Tuesday and, quote, had signed the contract, unquote. And then the next quote from the chief of staff is, it's not fully executed. Well, I got news for you, Chris. It's not a contract if it's not fully executed. It's not a contract. It has to be fully executed and signed in order to be a binding collective bargaining agreement. It's not fully executed, so what did he do? Sign a contract with blanks like the DCM contract to pick up solid waste? Are we going to fill in the blanks later?
Yeah, well,
he signed a contract that said, I'm going to work for the city of Fall River and all other benefits to be named at a later date.
Right.
Really?
Yep.
And you're going to say that's a contract? Sorry.
Remember,
It's not a contract.
this comes from the administration that has no success rate in the private sector. None. As a matter of fact, this mayor has hired several people who have never held a real job, except for the chief of staff who actually got his job because of the current mayor, who was then a city councilor, and got him a job at, the career center or market, workforce or whatever it may have been. But this is what happens. And, the conflict of interest law is very interesting because we made a 6610 request of them to ask them how many complaints had actually been filed, how many had a finding, because so many of them come back with no finding. It seems like nobody at the State Ethics Commission wants to do anything. But the state ethics law is very clear. It says it's not only if you do something wrong, it's if the appearance of you doing something wrong is there. It's a violation. But again, this is Fall River. We don't have to subscribe to the law. But let me tell you something. I have coming out very shortly, and this is going to be pretty independent. It is the full investigation into the boy emperor's political as well as his business background. Everything. Grants, functions, partners, everything. It goes all the way back. I mean, I've got this boy's resumes. I've got his educational records. I have it all. And all of it is going to be released very shortly. I said it to many people. They say, release it, release it, release it. Now I'm going to release it. I have been doing like many other people in this. They say, well, you got to give him a chance. I don't have to give him a chance. I have two things I have to do in life. Okay? One of them I'm doing right now. That's breathing. The other is drop dead. And I know right now the sixth floor is saying, drop dead, drop dead. So it's, it's a shame that it's come down to this, but you have recall committees forming. You have Division 1, Section 37. People want this over. Guess what, Mr. Mayor? It's time to listen.
Stay angry. It's not difficult to do.
It's not over till it's over, people. So make sure you let your voice be heard. And remember, clap on.